Alright, so in this module we will talk about two different protocols. First is the ultra wideband UWB and the second is ZigBee. Both of these are personal area network. Then we will briefly talk about millimeter waves and the other activities. Alright, so what is ultra wideband? Basically, if you have a signal which is sinusoidal, basically a sine wave, right? It will look like this in the time domain. And what will it look like in the frequency domain? An impulse. What is this diagram? This is how much power there is as a function of time, and this diagram how much power there is as a function of frequency. So all the power in this signal is located in one frequency, right? So when you have an impulse in the frequency domain, it's a sine wave in the time domain, right? If you were to look at the average power over a period of time, then per cycle you can plot, it will almost look like a horizontal what do you call what is this function called? Uniform. Anyway, let's call it uniform for the time being, but basically it is constant function. Alright, power is constant over a function of time. Now the opposite is true as well. If you have an impulse in the time domain, it will have a power which is constant in the frequency domain over all frequencies. Okay, and therefore this signal will have power at very broad spectrum. I mean, it will go from 0 to infinity, and basically the level would be very low though. Power level would be very low, and it will be so low that for most of the other people it will look like noise. For most of the other receivers it will look like noise, unless you have a receiver which receives those pulses. For the other receivers it look like noise. So people figured it out that if we send an impulse in time domain, it will look like a noise to everybody else, but we can still communicate. Okay, so this form of communication is called ultra wideband. Okay, so there are three words here: ultra wide band. So we know what is a band. Band is a spectrum, right? And wide spectrum is basically, few megahertz, maybe gigahertz, but ultra wide is multi gigahertz. So you do use the spectrum all the way from 0 to maybe 10 gigahertz, the whole spectrum. And the reason you can use the whole spectrum, even though it is all allocated and licensed to some other people, is because those people, the power level is so low that for them it will not really interfere. Okay, this form of communication is called UWB. Right? You send impulses in time domain, and they become a very broad spectrum in the frequency domain. All right. So now here is a thing to notice is that if you look FCC, what is FCC? FCC is the Federal Communications Commission. That is the department in the United States, federal government, which regulates the whole use of the spectrum or anything that uses wireless, or actually anything that uses any communication, even wired communication. So FCC controls all the telephone companies, it controls all the transmissions and everything else. It says you can use this frequency, you cannot use this frequency, you can do that. In fact, it regulates Google and everybody else. If Google does something wrong or if Apple does something wrong, you go to FCC and complain. All right. So FCC has rules which say that you cannot send more than this amount more than minus 41.3 dBm per megahertz from here to there. Okay, so that's the FCC limit, and this is called FCC part 15, because there are many parts in that standard or that specification or that requirement. Let me call it law or whatever you want to call this thing. And so part 15 is simply a document number. So part 15 says that you cannot have a noise, you cannot produce interference more than 41.3 dBm per megahertz. So when you design a computer, you take it to FCC, they check it out that yep, the radiation is not more than this. All right. Now, so what happens is whenever you want to send something, you have to send it over this noise limit. Then only it will make sense. If you send under the noise limit, it will not go through. Cell phones, for example, we just saw they might send 0 dBm, right? So the cell phones would be here, and so this is the part which is really the signal part. Signal is always more than the noise. This is the noise. So it is possible to generate very short pulses that have spectrum below the noise level, and so you can get gigabits per second. So basically, by using this technology here, where you send pulses, and you can send pulses every few, like you can send 100 pulses per second or million pulses per second. You can send pulses, they will have very low spectrum, very low power, but very wide spectrum, right? So with ultra wideband, you can get gigabits per second, still keep below the noise level. All right. By the way, this technology is all very new in the sense that it is so new that you don't still have it. So you don't have any UWB devices. They are just coming in the market this year, or maybe last year they must have come, and they are basically being announced every year, some new devices. So if you hear of something called USB, wireless USB, all right, that is UWB. All right, wireless USB devices will give you 480 megabits per second. 480 megabit is the rate of the wired USB. Huh?
Like the 2.0 standard?
Yeah, 2.0. USB 2.0 has 480 megabits. Yeah, not USB 1.0. USB 2.0 has 480 megabits, but there is a wireless version of it which is coming now, where you don't have to communicate. So then you can use it for communication to disk. Right now, when you use disks, you use USB 2.0 because it's fast enough for disk. You will be able to do wireless disk then. Right now, most of you don't have wireless disk. If you have wireless disk, it's probably using 11. And 11 doesn't go 480 megabits. It only goes to 54 or with 11 and 200 megabits. But it will be faster than get UWB. So you can get multi gigabits using 10 gigahertz spectrum. And FCC approved UWB operation in 2002. So before 2002, it was illegal to do this kind of stuff. Even though you were below the noise level, but it was illegal. But now it is allowed. And so it will be used by high speed over short distance, but like wireless USB. UWB can see through the trees, underground, radar, and so there are other applications of UWB, by the way, other than communication. Why? Because these impulses can do some other things. They can see through the trees, they can go through the walls, and they can go through the ground, they can go through the earth. And so they can be used as a radar to find out things behind the wall, in the ground, behind the trees. So for example, in the museums where they keep very valuable stuff in the open, they might have a UWB detector which is detecting the position of the diamond continuously. If anybody moves the diamond by 1 millimeter, the detector will find out that the diamond has been moved. So that is the radar application. So there are applications like that for UWB, position tracking and high value assets and all that. So that is not what we will be discussing here, but there are other applications. Another application of UWB that we have been discussing but haven't done it is that you can use UWB to look inside the stomach, inside the body, and So medical applications, then there are medical applications to find out what is wrong, what is happening, to take picture inside the body. All right. So UWB has many applications. We will be talking only the networking applications here. And so basically what you do is, when you say pulses, the pulses look like this. So they do have an amplitude, they do have a position. So you see this pulse is different from, these pulses are all different because their position is different slightly. And their phase, they also have a phase. So this one has a 180-degree phase from that one. You see this one is a big and a small, this is big and a small like that, negative. So they have position, they have a phase, and they have amplitude. So basically these pulses are very small. The smaller they are, the wider the spectrum it is. So this could be 25 to 400 picosecond, not nanosecond, picosecond. Pico is 10⁻⁻15, right? Nano is 9, 10⁻⁹. Nano is pico 15 or 12. 15, okay. So that is the width. And they can be position, amplitude, or polarity modulated. What that means is that this position could indicate a 0, this could indicate a 1. Or this could indicate a 0, this polarity, and this could indicate a 1. So depending upon what polarity it is, you could say 0 or 1. And since these are so many picosecond, which is actually, so thousandth of a nanosecond is a picosecond, right? Because 400 picosecond is like, so this would be, nanosecond is, okay, because nano is 10⁻⁹, right? Micro is 10⁻⁶, so it is 10⁻12, sorry. Yeah, so basically this is a 0.25 nanosecond is 250 picosecond, right? So that could give you 4 billion pulses per second. So that is, you can calculate how many megabits per second that is. And so then what happened was, once the FCC allowed that you can use UWB, the industry started making groups, and 2 groups were formed. Just like Wi-Fi and WiMAX, 2 groups were formed. One was called DSUWB, another one was called MBOFDM. And we are going to discuss that in a minute. But basically, so one group said that we will use this spectrum which was allocated by FCC now for UWB, using this technology called DSUWB, and that is coming up in this slide, but we will go back here. And the other one came up that we will use this other technique. All right. Before we go to those 2 groups, let's just review the UWB advantages first. So it has very low energy, so it gives you a lot of watts, very few watts per megabit. It has line of sight is not required because it goes to the walls. Sub-centimeter resolution, and so you can see if something moves by a millimeter, it will figure it out. Pulse width is much smaller than the path delay, so easy to resolve multipath. So what happens is, remember the multipath. When I send one impulse, it becomes 4 pulses because it is reflected 4 ways. But because the pulses are so small, they don't basically, what happens is you can really distinguish them each other as compared to if the pulses were big, where they will just run into each other. You see, this is like thin people and thick people cartoon, if you remember. So the pulses are very thin, and even if they become multiple copies, the problems are less as compared to if they become thick people. All right, so you can resolve multipath. Difficult to intercept. So you cannot just stop a UWB communication because you have to really affect the whole band. And this is all digital logic, so the low cost chips, and the size is very small, and so on and so forth. Anyway, so UWB is good, and that's why there are so many groups which want to use it. And the first group is DSUWB, and so this is a purist group. What they wanted to do was, they wanted to use CDMA, multiple chips per bit. So what they want to do is, for each bit they will send 10 bits, and that is what we call chips. So this is CDMA. If you remember direct sequence, right? There were two kinds of CDMA, the direct sequence and the frequency hopping. So this is the direct sequence stuff, and then they will do the UWB using pulses. So this is DS UWB, and so when the FCC allocated the spectrum, they divided that into two bands, 3.1 to 4.85 and 6.2 to 9.7. And so they started using this into two different bands. And so the FCC made only two requirements. One requirement was that you keep into this band. Second requirement is that obviously your level has to be below that part 15 limit, minus 43 dB on whatever per hertz. And the third requirement was that you have to use minimum of 500 megahertz. All right, then only they will call it ultra wideband. If you use less than 500 megahertz, then that is not ultra wideband. All right, so even though the spectrum is more than 500 megahertz, you can divide that into 500 megahertz pieces, and as long as you use one piece, that's good enough, right? So this group divided that into two bands, and then they said, well, we will use the whole spectrum or some parts of the spectrum, and then we will use filter to meet different countries' requirements. So each country, see the problem is that each country has some band that they want to protect. So that is the band they say, well, you cannot do UWB here, right? That's why here, for example, we have two bands, 4.85 and then 6.29 to 9.7. There is something between 4.85 and 6.29 that they want to protect. All right. So other countries have other things, right? So basically they can use spectral shaping to meet different countries' requirement as to where they put their 500 megahertz. The other one is multi-band OFDM. Now these guys, they are basically what they said was that, look, FCC doesn't say how you do it, so we don't really have to use UWB. We just have to use 500 megahertz. If somebody gave me 500 megahertz, then I have better ways of using 500 megahertz, and that way is OFDM. So these people started using OFDM, the standard OFDM that we have used in A22.11a, 11G. Remember OFDM? Same OFDM they are using over 500 megahertz at a very low power. And it turns out they are winning. So these are people who, so this is not really real UWB except in the FCC sense. In the FCC sense, it is UWB because it uses wide spectrum. But it is not from the original definition of UWB, which was that if you send pulses, it distributes the energy. Right? So it doesn't do pulses. It uses the normal OFDM. So what they have done is they have divided the whole spectrum into 14 or so, let's see, divided 3.1 to 10 gigahertz into 14 times 528 megahertz band. So that meets the FCC limit. And now you can use 1, 2, 3 of these bands. Simple devices support 3 lowest bands, and spectrum flexibility for international use, move of the band, and so on and so forth. So basically you can use, so in different countries, different bands. And each band has 128 subcarriers. So remember OFDM has multiple subcarriers, it's multi-carrier communication. So use 128 carriers, and then you can disable some subcarriers if somebody wants you to not touch some part of the spectrum. If that part of the spectrum happens to be in the middle of a band, you just don't use those carriers. So this is another whole group which is designing high-speed devices using this FCC allocation. All right, that will finish our lecture today. So to summarize this whole thing, what we have done in this part is that UWB allows you to use a lot of spectrum at very low power, right, below the noise level, to do the communication, very high speed communication. So when the FCC allowed this in 2002, two groups were formed. One did this pulse based stuff, and the other is doing OFDM using the same spectrum. Okay. Now this part I will not ask about UWB in the next exam. All right. So this will be not in the exam, but everything else will be in the exam. Okay, all right.